Time for a wake-up call for all of this. Hey guys and gals, welcome to Garage Gear. I'm JB, and if you want your mower, trimmer, or any other gear to run smoothly all season long, you gotta prep them the right way. I've got a list of lawn equipment to wake up here in the garage. Let's start with our main weapon of grass destruction, the mower. The first thing I like to do is fuel it up and fire it up. Fuel check, dry as a bone. And if you followed my storage instructions last fall, you shouldn't have any issues with this. It may take a few extra pulls in the spring to get it going, and this is normal because the fuel does have to work its way back down into the carburetor. Did you leave any old fuel in the tank all winter long? Get it out now so that way you can prevent any future issues going forward and fill it up with some fresh fuel. And if your mower isn't starting up quite right, the fuel that you left inside the gas tank may have gummed up your carburetor. Those jets have some tiny holes, and once they're clogged, they're clogged. I'll have some carburetor cleaning videos linked down below in the description, but if you can't handle those repairs, get your lawnmower into a shop now so that way you can get ahead of things before they get busy. Next up, check your oil. And if you didn't change your oil out at the end of last season, do so now. Simply tip the mower over, drain the oil out, and then refill it to your owner's manual specifications, or you can use your dipstick. Your engine will run a lot better, and remember, oil is cheap, engines are expensive. Change your oil. Next, check your air filter. A clogged air filter restricts your engine of air. You can either replace it or clean it with an air compressor, and this will definitely give your engine a boost in performance. Next, check your spark plug. You can either clean it and regap it or replace it for just a few bucks. Next, give your belts and your drive system a check. You want to make sure that any drive system mechanisms that you have work properly for you. Next up, sharpen your blade. Or blades in this case with this Honda. Dull blades have a tendency to just rip or tear the grass apart rather than cutting it clean. Either sharpen them or swap them out for a new one. I have a blade sharpening vise that holds my blades at the perfect angle for my grinder, and I'll have that blade sharpening vise link down below in the description. Also, while you're at it, give your deck a good thorough cleaning. A clean deck will mulch clippings better, leaving fewer clumpings behind, and leaving your lawn with a much cleaner cut. And to help keep this video clean with the YouTube algorithm, would you mind hitting that like button? My lawn equipment thanks you. Now the next thing that a lot of homeowners grab right after they're done mowing is the string trimmer. Again, you're gonna wanna fuel it up and fire it up. And if you left any fuel sitting inside that fuel tank over the winter months, drain it out and pour in some fresh gas, mixed with some 50-to-1 oil if you have a 2-cycle. Now, sitting inside here, sloshing around, this is actually not fuel. It's actually 2-cycle oil, a whole container of it. What I do in the fall is I empty out all the remaining fuel that's in the tank and I pour in this entire container of 50-to-1 oil. And what this does is it keeps the carburetor, the diaphragm inside, lubricated all season long. This way that diaphragm doesn't get stiff. Now all I gotta do here in the spring is pour this out as best I can. Just gonna try to get out every drop, let it drip into a pan, maybe tip and tilt the string trimmer a little bit in different ways. That'll do. And then from here, what I'm gonna do is pour in my normal 50-to-1 gas oil mix. Bloop, 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 bloop. Dunsky. There we go. Now, during the off season, I'll use the cheaper 50-to-1 gas oil mix because it's just sitting there and hanging up on my wall. Now, during the regular mowing season, for my string trimmer, what I'll use is Echo Red Armor. This stuff has been fantastic. I actually found that my engine runs a little bit better on it. This video is not sponsored. This is just a cool product that I figured I'd mention. This 50-to-1 gas oil mix is what I mix with my ethanol-free gas. Let's go fire it up. Now, once I get this string trimmer up and running, it's going to blow some smoke for about a minute or so. It's got to burn off all that extra oil that's sitting inside that carburetor and get it out. This is totally normal, and once it's up and running, it'll be running great, not blowing smoke for the rest of the season. Now, once you got them up and running, it's a good idea to check your fuel and your air filters to make sure that they're not all dirty, and if they need to be replaced, replace them now. These are usually pretty cheap, and you can usually get them in a bulk pack and save a lot of money. It's also a great idea to check your fuel lines and ensure that they're not cracked or brittle. These can just fall apart over time, so replace them as needed. Do you know the last time you replaced your trimmer line? I don't. Just restring it now so that way you're good to go and you're not caught in the middle of a job and your line goes out. Fresh line always cuts better too. From there, check your bump head. These see a lot of friction and can start to wear down over time. On many homeowner models, these are not too expensive, so replace them as needed. Then, clean out your debris shield. Now, whether you have your shield on or off, and I know that's more of a controversial topic than putting pineapple on a pizza, but having this on is a safety feature. But if you have it on, clean out any debris in here because that can slow down your bump head. Ensure that this allows your bump head to spin freely, and if you really want to clean it fast, hit it with a pressure washer. Also, ensure that your deck knife is nice and sharp, because if this starts to get worn out and rusty, what starts to happen is your line doesn't cut as smoothly as it should, and then you end up bumping the head a lot more than you need to. You can simply take a file to it, just like this, make it nice and sharp. That should do, and that will slice that line nice and clean. Next up, your spark plug. Clean it or swap it out for smoother starts. Check. Next up, your edger. And I feel like this is a tool that just isn't shown a lot of love by most homeowners. They use it and then they just throw it right back in the garage. I love this McLean edger. This unit starts up so smoothly with that Honda GCV 120 engine. You gotta love anything with a Honda on it. What you wanna do is fire it up. If you had any old fuel sitting inside, empty it out and refill it with the fresh stuff. Make sure that you check any fuel or air filters, and then you wanna go ahead and inspect and tighten any bolts or linkages. You got a lot of vibration happening down here at the business end, and all that vibration can start to loosen components over time. This thing can have a tendency to bounce off concrete from time to time, so tighten any bolts up that look shady or janky. Also, lubricate any parts that need it. A little grease on some moving parts helps keep everything moving smoothly. Check your belts too, and ensure that there's no cracks or breaks, so that way you're safe for the upcoming season. And lastly, check your blade. If it's getting dull or really starting to wear down, replace it. This will help give you a cleaner cut edge and improve your efficiency. Check. Now usually the last step of the lawn puzzle is your leaf blower. Now whether you have a backpack blower or a handheld leaf blower, they pretty much operate the same way. Usually they're both 2 cycles, and it's a good idea to drain any remaining fuel out if you didn't do so in the fall and pour in the fresh stuff. Now I don't winterize either of my leaf blowers here because I use them throughout the winter months, whether it's leaf blowing out the garage or blowing a light amount of snow off the cars or off the driveway. They get used, but it's still a good idea to make sure that the fuel inside is fresh. So check yours and then fire them up. From there, you're gonna wanna go ahead and check your fuel and your air filters. And can you believe that this Echo PB770T is over 10 years old, and the only thing I had to replace on it was the air filter. That's it. This one's just a little dirty, a quick cleaning, and that's all it'll need. This thing is absolutely bulletproof. It's a good idea to check your spark plug and replace it as needed, and replace any components as needed. Maybe you have a broken handle or a tube end, simply swap them out. Check. So JB, we did the mower, the trimmer, the edger, and the blower. What else you got? Well, let's not forget about things like your pressure washer. In the spring, you might want to hit things around your house like your driveway, your house itself, your sidewalks, your walkways, maybe even your patio. You'll want to get all these things clean, and it would suck if this thing didn't start. So same as the rest, fuel it up, start it up. If you have a fuel filter attached to yours, check that. Also check your air filter. And you also want to ensure that your pump is working. So hook this unit up to a hose and start pumping some water through it. Make sure that there's no crazy leaks happening. And also check your gun and your hose to make sure that they're in good shape too. Check. Now, when was the last time that you checked your generator? I typically roll mine out into the driveway, turn it on, and run it once a month for about 5 minutes at a time. This helps keep the fuel pumping through that carburetor. You don't want to be caught in the dark unless you like mystery bruises and toe stubbing adventures. Having an extra power source during a bad storm is a helpful thing. This Predator generator is over 10 years old and has worked great for me over the years. Check it out, I even got the manual attached to this thing still. Pretty wild. Fuel it up, fire it up, make sure it runs. If you have a fuel filter, check that. Check your air filter, and make sure that your spark plug creates a good spark. It's also a great idea to hook some things up to it and ensure that your generator is generating power. Check. Other items like tillers, chainsaws, log splitters, items that just don't see a lot of frequent use. Oh, start praying. You got it. Gas them up, give them a go, and make sure that they run. Check your filters, check your spark plugs, and check for any broken parts and replace them as needed. Now here's a few other tips and tricks to help you out in your garage. If you're looking to save some headaches, try running your machines on ethanol-free fuel. If you can't find ethanol-free fuel at a gas station near you, try searching ethanol-free near me on Google and see what pops up in your local area. I also like to use this transition time between seasons to clean off all my equipment. I like to take a warm, damp rag and give everything a quick wipe down. This gets any grease or grime off the equipment and shines it right up. To me, it makes for just more of an enjoyable experience using my equipment. Like you, I work hard for all my stuff. and I want to keep it looking like new. Next, take a few minutes and organize all your equipment. A clutter-free workspace saves you time and frustration during the season. We only have a few weeks here before the grass really starts growing, so now is the time to run through your checklists and make sure that everything's in proper working order. Make any repairs now or get your unit into a repair shop. That way, when the first warm, sunny Saturday hits, you're ready to tackle your lawn. For more cool garage gear content, click or tap the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.